morning, students. We have with us Mr. Alok Sapre. And before I introduce him, actually, Mr. Sapre, this is the Advanced Management Program for Infrastructure, and a warm welcome to you,
Thanks,
firstly.
thanks a lot.
And
Yeah,
yeah, so this class, I have already shared the details of the, broad details of the class. So we have a very experienced lot of students with an average experience which is close to 12 years, and they are from diverse backgrounds, right from real estate, infrastructure, consultancy, and everything that one may consider. I will now just briefly introduce our speaker, and I'm proud to say that yes, he also is one of my alums. Mr. Alok Sapre, he's the chairman and managing director of CIA-GLOCAL management consulting firm. It is his own firm, and he set it up a few years back. Before that, I would say that he's a Bachelor of Civil Engineering as well as a Bachelor of Arts and Masters in Hydroelectric. Besides that, he has done his Executive MBA from ISB and obviously ISB, Wharton Kellogg, and FDC in Brazil. He's also a certified corporate director at IICA. His company has been working with leading banks and investors and infrastructure firms, and they have done more than 300 sector agnostic assignments worth more than $19 billion. The company and he himself, they are firm believers that sustainability of business is directly related to ethics and transparency of processes that are adopted. I think, right now is ideally suited to speak on the current topic, which is how important is the mindset for accepting and bringing decisive changes in infrastructure and real estate industry. I must say this is a very unique topic because people talk of decisive changes, but he is talking about the mindset, which is something which is goes way, much more than just the changes. It is about how you can have a mindset to bring in changes. I am sure he is incorporating aspects like innovation and how you can think in a broader scale. Let me not start talking much right now. I think he's the eminent speaker is here and he's waiting, so we should move on to him. So yes, Mr. Sapre, the floor is yours. Thank you.
thanks, Rajiv, and thanks, Professor Chandan. Am I audible and visible?
Yeah, you're audible. Yes.
Very good, very good. So, good morning, everyone. For you, they are students. For me, I think they are industry colleagues. Whatever level they are in into their businesses. So yeah, and being a startup and a consultant, maybe tomorrow they could be my client. So good morning, everyone in the batch. And this is a unique opportunity which I got. Like people get the thing in blue moon, I got something very quick on Friday evening from Rajiv that why don't you come and speak about something on this subject. So, Rajiv, I appreciate your invitation. Thanks, ISB Mohali. I couldn't go to ISB Mohali when it is being founded, so it's an opportunity, at least virtually. I'm connecting with people who are there in ISB Mohali, and it's a great pleasure for me also to join you in. In terms of the subject, I would like to make the things very clear that all the hard study of topics and subjects have been taken care by ISB. I would not touch those upon. I would try and see whether my experience speaks in the topic relevant to you. Sometimes, it is easy to let it flow. So I will start a bit about me first. I think my brief has been given. But I think the mindset when it comes, it starts from individual. I think like charity begins at home. Similar way, the mindset change also starts with you. Mindset never changes overnight. It also has a thing to do with your background. Maybe I think Raju, this batch is like they have concluded their back course, or they are starting, or how is this?
They are midway. I will put it this way. So we have 4
Okay.
residencies, and they are just today completing the 3rd residency.
Oh, okay. Great, 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 great. So yeah, as you already crossed literally 2/3 or 3/4 of your journey, so it's probably a timely reminder that what happens sometimes without getting into the education and technical part. Sometimes what happens is that we tend to forget our basics, and then those basics I think are important when it comes to your mindset settling your mindset right. The story of mine probably will throw some light on not only on the mindset but also on aspiration, motivation, the journey, the dedication, the hard work, which I feel I have put in. And if it inspires someone, I think why not? I will take it in a very brief way. I will take it down you to Chhattisgarh's jungle, which was empty that time when I was there. My parents, they have taken to tribal education as their motto. So naturally, we were in very deep forest areas. So this is how my love to nature and infrastructure probably might have started or founded back in my mindset. So the place where we were in, uh, the first hint of monsoon and the wooden bridge used to get washed off. The road used to get literally half or more used to get washed off. Only one bus used to travel to that village when the season was fair weather. So the driver was like, today the way we talk about CEO, the driver was a CEO in my mind that time that, yeah, I want to become something like him. So somewhere that broken bridge in monsoon, the damaged road there have put some imprint in my mind about accessibility and the problems, which down the line started surfacing when I came to the professional life. Journey is not always easy. Like today, we have a lot of educational options available. And I think as you are mid-career professionals, today institutes are very high. In the times when we started with, we had very few engineering colleges in our state of Madhya Pradesh. And then I have to contain myself with a diploma. A diploma is more practical. I started working immediately, but maybe at the age of almost before I touched 19. So I tested money at quite a young age, but with a lot of hard work because I was in some of the largest hydropower projects in Madhya Pradesh, which were that time 300 crores in 80s. I'm talking about. So you can think the magnitude of it and the learning what a new engineer will have. And then being a new engineer, you are put to all the grind by your superiors, that night shifts, day shifts, 18, 20 hours in a day. So that makes your basics. Then I realized something that, if I only contain with this, then I won't be able to do anything bigger because my parents were already academicians. So I should do something. So I took up BA. Now this is a laughing stock, an engineer doing a BA. Why? But thing is, I wanted to appear in competitive exams. English literature, economics, sociology. Economic sociology is a very much part of our engineering's project settlement when we start doing it. So by default, I got into the subject of just out of my interest. English, definitely that time being, we were not very conversed in our educations were always in Hindi basics. So in English itself was a challenge. How do we meet it? Down the line, after BA, I tried qualifying for PSCs and UPSCs. PSC I clicked, but certain things hold me back. I couldn't join. But then it kept in my mind that one degree is there. I have to take another degree, and I struggled hard with my department to take an education leave. I am the first case of MP government to doing a BE course on a study leave for 3.5 years. Literally 70% of the period was full paid because I have already earned working in 7 years by the time. So when I joined BE, I was with young colleagues who came out of 12th or first year, and I was working with them and in studying with them. So they used to take my experience of survey, quality control, physical and understanding of the projects, and I used to understand from them strength of material, applied mechanics, and soil mechanics, the tougher part. So this is how I graduated in engineering at last, I would say. And then immediately after that, I thought, why not? Maybe now once I'm studying, I should do something further. So after 2 years, I did my master's in hydroelectric because I have been in hydro projects literally in my initial 8, 9 years of start, that were mega hydro projects. It was a fascination. And that was the time when there was only government sectors and private sector was not that recognized. But I thought of joining from government to private. So the mindsets, I don't know whether you noticed that always was there to do something different in my own academics first, make my own career first, because once you are settled, then you can do something better and bigger. And once I did, I felt probably somewhere the government is holding me down, not allowing me enough to learn and do something. So I decided to go and switch to private sector, which was in a bit unparliamentary language is a stupid call. People called that time that why are you leaving a settled job, government job? You know, you have your own house, your family is here. But then me and my wife, she was always with me to take these calls, and we decided to switch to private sector. And I went all the way from MP, Bhopal to Chennai in the area which is North Madras Thermal Power Station, where we did as HCC, Hindustan Construction Company. I joined. So it was basically a Ennore coal port, what you see today. So that was that time only a sandy beach, nothing was there. And the first task, what I got instead of hydro, I got a development of, because they say there is nothing like hydro and civil and this, whatever is available with us, you have to go there. So I was made in charge of development of that area where we need to stock the boulders which was coming from other projects. So thing is, what you study and what you do doesn't need to always gel. That was another mindset which I learned maybe over the with that experience. Before that, as a brief instinct, I also tried to work in an underground project in Koena. That was another way from my department. I went there on deputation, you can say, literally taking some leave, but I have to go there. 7 months I was there. And I have seen that how the technological development that time, pen stock, the way the things are done, you know, the way the dam was founded, the way tunnel was being made, how the volcanic breccia was encountered there in the tunnel, and how those were tackled by the company where I was there in the Koina. And I also realized that how the safety standards were compromised. And on particular point where intake structure was there, I found that the rock is very susceptible to damage because it is a mix of basalt and breccia. And when I warned my management that time, they took me light that you're coming from government, what you know about the private construction, the way it is happens. And I said, okay, that's the point. Then I've been giving you enough warning. Maybe take notice, else there will be a big problem. And I left back. And I don't want it to prove at this point, but it was proven, unfortunately. The rock collapsed and 14 people died on the spot there. Mindset, why it is important? I think this is another example that it doesn't matter that you are new or old, junior or senior, what experience you are have, what. If you have an observation and if you are sharing with someone and if it is convincing, we should have openness to accept the suggestions was another learning there. Slowly, my career in private probably moved faster than what was earlier. And within no time, by 2005, I was already, when Kaltaru took over a company, I was there as the director to set up that company, which is called JMC today, JMC Infrastructure. And from nowhere, we had no experience of infrastructure. And by the time 2005, this is when within 10 years of my private journey, I'm already setting up a vertical, which is literally a company. And that company within 4 years with diversified projects, which we acquired, we created a corporate team. We decided to also go all out in the diversification of sectors from highway to water lines to, other works. So another area, what I realized that time that we have potential inside us. It is only a matter of how we explore it. And probably as I had kept my mind open, I was able to travel my journey. Another opportunity came when I have to head the Spanish company, which was venturing into India for their Indian and Gulf operations. The biggest thing I learned again is how do we blend our culture with a multinational, that too coming from a European country, because the way we see different country people, we should know when we go further. Either it's a Baja acquisition case nowadays or it is joint venture partnering. We must understand another aspect is the culture of the people from where they are coming, how they work over there, and how we minimize the total change in their own adaptability, because we can adopt to some extent, they cannot adopt to full extent, but yes, there has to be integration. So that integration probably is one of the most important aspects That can only happen if we are not very rigid on our requirements and we are flexible enough to understand and make things going. So this learning ultimately brought me down to my own business in 2014. There was journey which is there on LinkedIn. I'm sure you can refer it there, and you can also refer to some of the discussions on my videos about industry, which probably will give you more insights. But then when I thought that probably I have done enough in my life, there was one more thing before I started my business that I thought I have worked with so many companies on top positions. I don't know whether I have spoiled the companies or I have, really made companies to develop. Why not to test my knowledge and acquire some additional knowledge? And I joined ISB PJP Max, which was the second batch of executive MBA. And unfortunately or fortunately, what people aspire to do when they do ISB or such institutions, they always think that how their digits in their salary figures will go up. So unfortunately, my digits maybe from 8 or whatever have come down to literally zero because I started my own business after that. And I realized one thing, that what learnings we have in our life, either we can use it for growing self into our career and reach the zenith, which probably I felt I reached a bit early in that period of time. I'm not saying today people are moving very fast, but whether can we give something back to industry, this was a big decision. And this is where exactly the topic what Rajiv suggested comes very handy: mindset. Now when you resign your work and start your own business from a position of a multinational company CEO or Indian company CEO, you have a lot of resources, lot of connects at disposal where you can really thrive on gyring them back and start a big business immediately in consulting. Like I preferred management consulting and info advisory. But I thought industry is very conventional. My experience says that openness to learning is very, very low. And when you are not open to learning, working with you means there could only be two things: repetition of the same work. Instead of working in office as CEO or director, you are working indirectly as part-time CEO or part-time director as a consultant to them, but their own liking and their own methods. So you're not improving anything out of that. That was my realization. And with due respect, I know people are there from diverse multinational companies in the batch, and I have worked with them quite a lot in different industries. But I feel that if you have independence to choose something, you should choose an area where it is unexplored. And I decided to go to the banks. Reason was that time the NPA, I don't call it raging, but maybe the NPA problems were surfacing fast on 12, 13. 13, I founded my first company, CIA-GLOCAL, which ultimately became CIA-GLOCAL Venture LLP in 15. And banks were like, they were in big trouble. And what has happened, as industry and consultants, probably because there was an era of open business was opened in 98 or 99, you can say that. And a lot of PPP projects were the uh, thing which was happening very fast. Now, PPP, what has happened? India has opened its industry very late in infrastructure. There are earlier only few companies, like you can name it: L&T, HCC, Gammon, Afcons, maybe JP, and Simplex. Few companies like this. But by the time the highway boom started in 2000, more or less 99 2000, you can see the companies have mushroomed to astronomical numbers. Today, if you see, only the highway industry has more than 500 companies on different businesses. And when PPP opened, people without really, you know, grooming their management bandwidth or really, creating enough talent inside, they thought that PPP is a good way of, raising from subcontractor to contractor they have done earlier. Now maybe they can become sort of a developer, and which was a big change for them to think on, and people capitalized on that, and banks were trying to enhance their top line. They were ready to fund projects. There was both ways attraction. 2009, 2012. This was the era when PPP boomed. In fact, 7 to 12, and started failing because This is another area where probably the practical experience and deep knowledge becomes important. The financial models, what is the key for all infrastructure asset management programs. They were glamorous, but there was no substance. Most of the companies, without naming them, have projected with you know people who were supposed to be helping them to bail out, but they helped them to ultimately get sucked out of the PPP tsunami. And what happened to industry is a known fact around that period. Banks, they used to have engineers, but then engineers used to put a convenient report because negative in India, nobody wants to listen, even globally. Nobody wants to say, listen, somebody is saying no, another mindset. But probably now things are becoming different where banks say more no to yes. They are today's world. After 7 years of my working, I have seen at least the part where I operate a lot of no's, because they realize one thing, that they have been probably not been treated fairly in the areas where they ventured into. And infrastructure largely has become a cuss word for the banks, which is a sad state of affairs again, because you cannot shy away from an industry which is really the drive of all the governments last 20 years, and last 10 years maybe more and more it is driving to the extent which is required for Indian countries like India. But now at the time of development today, you find last 3 years the financial closures of a lot of projects are not happening. Energy projects or transmission projects were already uh, having no takers or buyers because of they were not able to really fulfill the obligation. So how to go for it? This is the time when we started as our venture, where we wanted to help the banks to understand the nuances of the business. I always believe financial model is definitely required, but first thing is, if infrastructure is all about the theory of physics, what we learned, if you have to move from point A to point B, we used to calculate everything, momentum, inertia, bending moment, this, that. Same thing applies to financial models. It doesn't come automatically by just putting the thing on Excel sheet and then start iterating that what is the IRR. First and foremost is, are you aware of your business? Where are you investing? You are not a bank. Even if you put only 15% equity, it is a sizable amount for you to put in as a private sector. And this is exactly the point where developers, they thought they will put the equity, they will somehow try and rotate the equity, and they will put another project. So that this spiral went on building, and they started investing on project after project after project in energy, in highway, or whatever sector comes to them, and it started backfiring because the ground understanding of the project and how to execute, even the government problems, the environmental issues, the forest issues, the political issues. As an infrastructure company, we need to see everything. We are not only engineers. We are probably, to some extent, we are social, environmental, and construction engineers all together. Construction, when I say, includes civil, mechanical, electrical. So we cannot say I'm a civil engineer. I'm a construction engineer first. Then with ISB and all, sorry, you will be all managers and above. But then you are basically at core, remain an engineer. And engineering needs diligence. Diligence is the thing which we compromise the most. And this is one area which is taught by all institutions on the name of risk assessment, risk understanding, risk modeling. Everything is being done by us theoretically. But when it comes to on the reality scenario, we don't use it because largely the outcome comes to no. And we are very, very fearful to talk to our management. So if you're owner, you want to understand from someone below, he's telling me, no, I cannot accept. I have seen, I have talked to someone on phone, that area is very good. Why are you saying this? And this exactly has the mindset where you feel that all the education, all the knowledge, all the experience could be put to one side. But my decision making, because I have been taught, something comes to your mind, you must quickly latch on it and take a decision. The person who has said it, or what we see today on WhatsApp forward as a morning message, it was only a part of message. The full message was probably somewhere that read the circumstances, adopt to it, and then follow it. We start jumping, and then industry has become in a shape. Now it is recovering 2 3 years, but it has come to a shape from 12 to literally 17 18, when there was nowhere to go. There were no development projects happening. There was tweaking on model over model. Earlier there was a toll project, then there was a annuity model. Now there is a hybrid annuity model on all the sectors, highway prominently. So what is happening today? Companies are getting into the tweaked model. Then there was a lot of EPC. Now EPC again today, if you see the competition in railway sector or highway sector or metro sector, it is still the lessons are learnt. But then we say that once we do some mistakes, we should learn from the mistakes and improve in our journey. Today, what is we again started seeing it, that we have suffered the lessons, we have had some learnings, but again time is changing, so it is time to ignore some of the learnings. So, so today, if you see the EPC market probably is largely highly competitive. I always call EPC itself as half PPP. Forget about COVID period, because you are getting some benefits on prorated payments are being done. But otherwise, if you don't achieve your milestone, you only invest money, you don't get paid back on that milestone period. So we need to also understand that either you put equity on a toll project or you put investment as working capital on EPC project. Ultimately, it's going to come only when you have assessed the project right. And in order to become over competitive, we ignore the basics. And this is where I started. The basics probably are the one which we need to firm up, and everybody won't have those basics together. So there is a team which we need to create. Organizations must understand the importance of team. What happens when COVID comes, or when the problem comes, or NPA happens? The first casualty is that we remove our teams. Yes, some of the people are maybe deadwood, I call them, not required. So that is right. But some of the good talent goes out. And then when the time starts, we don't again build back, because we feel salaries are too high. Why should we take some experienced person? Why he is from ISB Mohali? Is very expensive. Maybe take somebody else. This is what the mindset of industry is. Talent recognition and placement is like a chessboard. Where you have to move and how you have to put, we must know back of our heart or in our mind somewhere. It should be there that whenever we wake up, we should think of team. What team we need to require for this project? What team is required for this position in corporate office? How we should develop this environment. That team is there, but then they are not only there to compare salaries and positions, but they are also contributing to the larger interest of the organization. I always give examples which are not from industry. Dilip Kumarji, who recently expired, the actor, and Vajanti Mala, one of the best pair on the screen. What I heard or learned from various blogs, that they had bitter fights, but if you see their on screen chemistry, it was perfect. They gave hits after the hits. Cricket, there are stories of top captain and some pace bowler, all rounder, and somebody, they had the bitter fights. But when it came to delivering for country, they lifted the World Cup for India. So what I'm trying to put, that we may have our personal differences, better to keep them as professional differences, not to make it to personal level, but professional differences are better sorted out, and team comes together to make their mind as a common minimum agenda. The political parties bring that fancy names. Same is required for LEM management, that if there are different mindsets, the business plans are common minimum plan. The business plans bring the best out of everyone to understand what is to be done, and everyone has to play a role. Like a movie script, everyone has a role. Same is in business plan. Nobody should play all the roles, including the promoter or even the CEO himself. Yes, they have to oversee, but not the play all the roles. You have to have delegation in your mindset again. And you must learn, if I'm delegating someone, he will definitely help me out or bail us out, or he will take his role. We should have that trust. We must develop that trust, which is key. That irrespective of position, irrespective of experience, irrespective of my personal relations, but the development of this project is bound to succeed. So this is where again the mindset comes. If I keep egos or reservations or my way or highway, typically we call it in when we talk about such things. What happens is that it is difficult to really gel as a team and grow properly. Whereas the infrastructure project of today's size are 1,000 crore or 500 crore plus in any ways, typically the big projects. What is happening there? Today, when industry is talking about Industry 4.0 revolution, and even infrastructure is being talked about, World Economic Forum is saying about infrastructure 4.0, and sustainability and ESG financing is picking up, lot of areas. The green bonds are being discussed. But again, are we mentally, as a group, as a company, as a management, as a board? I'm, as Raju told already, that I'm also independent, certified independent director. Corporate governance is one of the subjects which I also take in discussions. Now, corporate governance is not a fancy word or nothing a new thing that you develop some horn on your head and then you become corporate governance thing. No, I think people from army, I think they can tell us better about how to govern. Maybe Raju, I think you're the right person to tell about the teaming and the way that things flow down in terms of if it is to be done, it is to be done. Whatever happens, this has to be done. Corporate governance is a bit mixture of all things together. We should think about sustainability. We must think about environment. We must have a quality plan in place. We must think about safety of our people and safety wherever we are working upon. We should always have the standards of governance in an organization. Now, this is what? This will not come by telling someone or hiring a consultant. This will come through your mindset to accept these things first. If you just make plain assessment on papers and institutions they teach you or training institutions they train you, but then you just go out and forget about it and don't adopt even 30% or 30% good enough. With due respect to ISB here, what courses you are doing, they are 100. Every time, very few people retain everything. But if you retain 30%, but really go for it, 30 will become 100 for you. So instead of going, to all around and doing bits and pieces, better focus on your key strength, get your key learnings from the courses and implement it. And governance also talks about more or less same, that you should have some minimum governance standards. You should have minimum ESG standards compliant for taking finances. Now investors insist, banks insist that you should have ESG compliant. Now infrastructure ESG compliant, I have not seen. Websites will say, public companies, they will publicize, but the moment to go inside, they are only the elephant teeth which are visible from outside, but inside remains the same. This is the irony of industry. We talk big, do less. Corruption I have not touched and not to be touched. But then if we do all things right, this will also go away. If provided we put our mind together on the areas where we want to work. If we want to take shortcuts, then corruption is going to be there. It is going to be your, foil. So if you make our foil in knowledge for what you came to ISB or you go to other institutions, probably it remains with you. And then you can take other evils slowly push out. Don't try to become typically a Bollywood hero in terms of doing something overnight changes, but make subtle changes, tweaking changes. So there's another area. My mind says that this company needs total restructuring, but then there is a culture. All organizations have a culture. Like a family has a culture, similarly organization has a culture. Now you want to disrupt the culture. This is what happens when we do merger and acquisition, when we do top joint ventures. That time, this is the problem, that we don't know the DNA of the organization. We don't understand the pulse of the thing, and we create something which is a bit hybrid in terms of its own existence, and it fails. There are many case studies you must have done where the big names have come together and they failed. So probably, if you sum up all this together, you will find that areas what will make you to sustain longer is your own thinking, the way you understand the project. I always tell my team, and they look at me at in an amused way. I always say, whenever you see a project, understand the project and plan the end of the project first. How the project will be closed, what will be the key activities towards the closure. Just think of, come back, come back, come back. You find that zero date, suddenly you have come further, means the time is falling short. Then you apply now the time requirement and put in resources. You will find it is more effective way. If you don't see the close end of the project, how can you plan a project just sitting on MSP or Primavera or wherever? It's good to see programs on Primavera, but have you understood the activity relevance in real sense? Critical diagram is good, but then have you understood the critical diagram, the critical activities which are really coming to make it difficult for you? So I think the problem comes is our core basic understanding needs to upgrade. All these courses, whatever we do, they add to our knowledge. They open our mind. So it's up to us to keep it open. If we decide to close it again, then you have wasted whatever million you have invested on your course. But if you want to use it, keep it open. If you don't keep it open, then you're just invested money, bracket wasted money. Because institution thought that it has taught you and you thought you have learned it, but then your mind is open. So then your learnings are literally not being used to the benefit of a larger cause, to your family, to your society, to the industry. Infrastructure is all about society. We create facility for societies. We create everything. We bring housing, we bring energy, we bring railway, transport, whatever you name it. Even today we talk about health infrastructure. You need to create facilities. Education, you need to create schools. E-learning platforms are, yes, going to be there, but then not only, you need to create physical infrastructure first for everything. So infrastructure is everywhere. We create it. But if we again misuse it, today what is happening today, we are seeing the floods are devastating India, not only India, China. Why it is happening? Somewhere we should, mind is less, but common sense is more in this case. If there is a channel which is flowing and then you want to obstruct it without giving it proper respect to it, it is bound to fail. What happens to Mumbai every year? What happens to Delhi every year? These are supposed to be people talking about Shanghai and all, what all. But then where is the problem? Yes, one is geographical issues. Second is how these buildings are created, and we say that we have destroyed this building. But then that debris or the nalas which have been closed are not going to be revived again. What happened in Uttarakhand? What happened everywhere? We created means somebody permitted, somebody asked for permission, somebody permitted, somebody constructed, and local public allowed things to happen that time. Now we see that these were done, that were done. There were no common sense. All urban planning of Indian cities, first hint of rains, and it gets waterlogged. Is it so difficult? Yes, extraordinary rains, they are supposed to be because there is a capacity you build. But then first hint of rains, you develop potholes. First hint of rains, your power trips. First hint of rains, your house collapses, affordable housing. Is it all because of season, climate? Okay, you will get on paper approvals from government. But then this is our mindset which creates this. Because we are not change drivers. We are changing ourselves to adopt to systems. We are not putting in something which is required from us to deliver, stand and deliver. We criticize Tendulkar's and Virat Kohli's and Rohit Sharma's that he has failed. But then simple word for that is stand and deliver. Today Olympics we are following, and we are happy with one silver medal. But then thing is, are we really doing similar thing in our course? Because athlete, either they fail or succeed, they put a lot of efforts. After putting efforts, if you fail, understandable. But if you don't put efforts and only do commentary, then it doesn't make sense. So when I talked about this subject, I think it is not infrastructure. It is a lot of our surroundings, our common sense, our ethics, our business principles, our family institution, what we have learned over the year of time, what we call it is our heritage. All these contribute. We need to preserve it. We become, every time we become hybrid, we compromise some certain things. You compromise, definitely you need to compromise, but compromise the things which you can ignore or which you can forego. But keep your basics in place, and I would say that you will find you are able to deliver. And all these talks of infrastructure, for and all will become successful. World Economic Forum today, if you read its document, they have done enough research. They have put enough document. I am sure it must be part of your somewhere in discussions in ISB also. But thing is, first, let's create our mindset for. I would say first, let's come to that mindset where we can deliver something and make infrastructure industry, including when I say infrastructure, please take that as a whole, because today there is no walls. Real estate and infrastructure and all other sectors, energy, oil and gas, everything together. I take it as a whole canvas. Ultimately, real estate also is part of the same gambit. It is all because of our greed and our shortcuts that good things fail. At the same time, there are beautiful architecture, which we see all around in India itself. So if people want, they can deliver. If they don't want, it will never happen. So let's probably think more on this line. Create something which is long lasting, so pleasing to eyes, and also takes care and maybe I would say makes you a complete engineer, manager, CEO. Thank you.
Yeah, we would have some few quick questions, if any. I think very inspiring talk. Any students, any questions?
The floor is open for questions. Yeah.
Yeah, you can unmute and ask. No problems.
Sir, what is your take on the affordable housing? How do you propose we should go ahead in this sector?
Yeah, I think affordable housing as a concept is definitely good. It is also proving to be successful in some part of the country, not all part of the country. I think the first and foremost probably is tying up with the right investments. I think one of the area where, because affordable housing on a, if you're talking about the developer, is a big requirement. It's still no less. So I think the one and good thing is maybe first is plan what is really affordable. Are you able to contribute to that thing with something better? And are you able to get right investments? Because returns on affordable will be good, but then sustainability of affordable will be always questionable, because depends on which location it is there, what requirements are already been publicized, what is the normal acceptance of such thing in those particular area. So what is successful in place X may not be successful in place Y, or within the city also place A and place B might have different indices of success. So maybe I would say first is a study, second thing is good investment tie-up, and third is really doing something which is affordable but not compromised. I think what is happening today, affordable is being compromised. So it is getting a bad name. Intents are right, but execution is poor. So you should think, if you can deliver, stand and deliver. My word is that.
So generally, life of a structure, like for any structure, with your experience, what is life of a building or anything design, like design life of a, yes.
See, typically, yeah, typically when you plan any building, I'm sure it is definitely for 30 to 50 years is a minimum lifespan. You don't do shorter than that. 30, why I'm saying, because nowadays the redevelopment schemes talk about certain age for the buildings. But I think 50 years, if you see your age-old houses are standing even better than earlier. So I think it is all about, as I said, the affordable is the right word, but then the intent of design has to be to make it lifelong. And then you can use technology here. I think another area which probably I missed out is talking about technology in the sector. So I think affordable is one of the areas where we are still going conventional with technology. We are not using much, except few developers also only are doing something in technology field. So we need to think of technological inputs first. Design has to be definitely for long lasting, because 20, 30 years doesn't make it durable, because you do a design and then site is compromising, so it makes it 15 years. So then within third year, you will see the plaster is peeling off and all that. So design has to be sturdy and good, but then yes, you can always use innovation and make it affordable. And today, probably investors are very rigid on this subject themselves. They also want their name to go along with that. So it has to be sustainable.
Okay. Prakash, your hand is raised.
Sir, I mean, yeah, sir, some of the projects.
Just a minute. Is there a rule that the question who is asking cannot be seen?
No.
So we can see you.
Yeah. No, there is some issue that might.
Okay. No problem. I'm just joking.
Thanks. It's okay. Okay, sir. I mean, we see some of the companies execute projects fantastic. Some of them do not, and there is a huge cost to the war delays. If everything gets back into the project cost, is there something, a in thing or a cultural which is causing this? There are some other factors which are common. That's fine, but how is culture, plays leadership culture?
Your voice is not clear.
Yeah, I think Prakash, your question is I think very right and syncs with my theme, what I talked about. One is individual first. Individual could be the owner, could be the CEO, could be the person who is at the helm of affairs, and yes, the organization culture. It is not all about putting big certificates on display, or website is full of theoretical stuff. But I think more important is, are you having the intent to do it? So I would say more than culture here. Yes, culture is an important part, but it comes from intent. So intent is the first thing which has to be built up, because as you already said, that some of the companies they execute and some of them they don't. So difficulties apart, if some can execute, all can execute. If some fail, then everyone should fail. But then why only some fail and some don't fail? It means there has to be something with them first. Few projects will have problems, but that is not an excuse for entire company or entire cultural lineage of the company to use that as a shield. So I would say the first thing comes to the intent. Second is methodology in India is not discussed much. We talk more about plans. We love Excel. We love development of Excel, and we love development of various advancement there. But those Excel cells need real figures. I think real inputs, those are missing. So that is another area, the planning, the method, what you want to adopt to. I think method also depends a lot to finish your project on time. And we can, I can tell you an example of one of the bridge where we had Koreans as partner, and this is in Ganga. And we as Indian company, we believe in showing our speeds, mobilize very fast, put in all big plants, so invested 50, 100 crores already within no time. And Koreans were not even moved an inch. And we were very upset that our Hyundai was the partner. They are not doing enough to, come to the plan and do this thing. And then one email comes one day and he says, okay, is it possible to use the barge or something to ferry the material from Calcutta to this place, Allahabad? Is it possible? Now we thought, what is this question? What is he talking about? And then, after 3-4 months of no activity from them, they decided to mobilize and things. They took entire, session on boards. They finalized, planning finalized, and they moved a lot of material from Calcutta to Allahabad using the river, which probably we as an Indian company would never thought. So it all depends on, how you plan and how you intend. And they completed. Of course, it was a complementary project, so both have to do. But their part we were suspecting will be delayed. But at the end of the day, it was we who delayed.
Yeah,
I hope it answers your question.
Yes. I mean, the solution mindset. You should try to find alternate solutions to move quickly.
Yeah, I think we should dig deep. Means these are my fancy words I use with my team also. Go to the root cause, dig deep. This we always learn in our institutions, but we don't adopt it. Let's go down and do it. Understand the project well, understand the costing well, do the budgeting first right. Even if it is negative, let's make the budget first, no? Then we'll decide which areas we can, do some advancement. Technology can be used somewhere. Can we use something else there? Contract, we have to understand well. We have to also use contract sometimes to, if there is something wrong. So I think the study part is one which is missing. We only talk about how do we execute. So we are trigger happy, I would say, in terms of projects. But I think we need to plan and implement.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think because since we are running out of time now, we can have two more questions quickly. So Deepak, I request you to ask your question.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Alok, first of all, thank you very much for sharing your experience, your insight of the infrastructure world. And I can relate to what you said. And I think the theme what you shared is what is growth mindset, and coming out from the fixed mindset and taking the journey of continuous learning and being a curious student. That's something which was really nice to hear. And I could relate to most of the topics which you shared, and how your journey from your struggle, and then how you had a very comfortable government job, and then deciding that this is not enough, and the curiosity to explore the private sector and then coming to the top is quite encouraging, and really appreciate the way you explained the whole thing. So now,
Thanks.
yeah, thanks. And now in your last 20, 30 years of the industry, I mean, so the things you have seen, and I would like to understand, how would you like to define or explain the state of infrastructure in India at this point of time? Is it still evolving state, or is it in the growth state, or it has matured, or it is in the decline state? Means I'm trying to use the scientific understanding and analogy, and trying to see a future potential manager or leader, how motivated, how curious, and how excited he should be to take this leap forward. Thanks.
Yeah, I think a very good question, a very pertinent question too. I think India definitely is on a growth path as far as infrastructure is concerned. I think the biggest thing, if you have to see somewhere, I think it is railway. If you see railway, the growth is phenomenal in terms of reaching out. The way they used COVID period for logistic was very, because that could only happen if they have planned it. Metro, although the metro somehow has shaped very well and is not a profitable segment maybe for everyone to that extent, but then I think it has come up very well. Highways are picking up. So national highways largely are following, I would say 70% plus, I would say is improving. So yes, overall, if you ask me, we probably have the right set of support in terms of government is concerned, the policies are concerned, investments are coming. What is needed probably is decline is happening more on urban infrastructure. We talked about smart cities, but today I think we don't hear much about smart cities in terms of talks. The reason being, when I started my journey as a small child, there was no Wi-Fi, no TV, no mobile, nothing. But when we learned hard way, we were able to do it. Today, everything is available. But then we want to make smart by what? Just by putting gadgets, cycle tracks, and those things, or some renewables? I don't think so. That is the meaning of smart city. That's a wrongly interpreted one. Smart city first should have something relation. The nature and the urban thing somewhere should connect. If you are obstructing the nature, then the very purpose of smart city gets defeated. So somewhere alignment to the green and the sustainable environment is the key area of smart city. So in that sense, I would say probably urban space needs a lot of, like, these drainage issues we talked about, the floods we talked about. Extraordinary is understandable. Ordinary, we can't tackle. Engineering issue, planning issue, decline. So decline is more pronounced in urban space or residential or such spaces. things are developing, shaping definitely. If we can make Sardar statue to look good, we can also make our buildings to look equally good. So Bandravalli ceiling is standing against all the odds. So we can do it.
Enough.
Thank you, sir. It was a really nice presentation, and I can actually relate to what you said, how career changes over the years. I started my career in thermal power station as an asset manager, and then moved on to doing construction management and operation support for one of the river hydro. And I'm working
Great.
for consulting firms in India, which are based out of India. So how it's changing, and we'll see that. Of course, evolve, and there'll be more opportunities for professionals. What I wanted to understand from you, because you've been on the both sides, on the government side and also on the private side, and you have a consulting firm. I see you talked about taking prudence in taking decisions, whether go no go. And on the private side, I think people are maturing. They're just not bidding for anything and everything. They're evaluating risks and then going for the bids. But on the government side, I still believe if the project is not packaged properly, if it's an unfeasible project, not really, somebody, as you said, they just wanted to make it feasible in the feasibility study or in the DPR, and they just tender out a project which has a lot of inherent risks, right? And then the way government structures their tenders and the contracts, it's very onerous when it's bid out, and the private player takes on all the risk practically. So it's doomed to be fail, right? It's a doomed project to begin with. So what is the solution to that? How is government maturing in that sense?
Okay. I think very good question in terms of the bidding in India. I think this is a topic. I think generally, if we make it, it's like bidding in India, because we have seen there was a period. I will slightly go back. There was a time when bids, international players were allowed to come in, and then a lot of companies from Malaysia, Indonesia, and these places, they came in and they bombarded the space. But it was only for namesake, because there was a provision in contracts then that you can have joint venture partner who has so much experience, and then even if you don't have much, 30% you will be able to qualify. So the first and foremost, and then corollary, then when PPP project came, there was a criteria of top 5. Only the top 5 qualification will be able to bid. Lot of halla gulla from the industry. Then it became top 6. Then again, a lot of political representation and all that, and it became literally open to all. So even today, it is same. So I think the problem in government is to not to come to fullest terms of the present requirement. When I say so, the meaning is when you are creating, like see today there is a clause of you have to sign ethical bond that you are following ethical practices and all. So we are good in showcasing something which can be shown that I have certificate of ethics, but then government intent at the top is right, at the bureaucracy some top is right, but when it comes to execution, there are reforms which are yet to be done. But digital space probably has now entered in government for the first time in a better way. Like today, if you see NHAI, the toll connectivity, the drone surveillance, these things have started very late, but it started now. And one of our ISB alum is basically in NHAI also, who is spearheading this movement for digital changes. So things are where the government is progressive. Again, depends on, again, similar way like we talked about private. Things are happening. It is being realized to do business, comfortably is becoming a theme slowly. So, that needs few areas like taxation was a problem, corporate taxation, GST, all that has been resolved to a large extent. So, we have to also see those as part of the bidding structure, because, when people come in, they see everything. India was not incentive to come to this thing because there are a lot of regulations. So they are now being taken down. Tax structure has been tried to be a bit straighter, still not that easy, but still straighter compared to 10 years back. So, an investment facilitation today is much better. You can invest and you can also move out successfully. Earlier, people used to come. It was like Abhimanyu walking in Chakravyuh, but they were not able to move out of the investment, their own investments. But today you can move out, means there are change in hand may happen, asset transfer may happen. So if you see, these things have changed. What has not changed is going to the nut bolts. That means the study where they want to keep project are still driven by political will. Although it is more organized will today, but then they need something to be done there. Then people just follow the dream of the leader that it is to be done, whatever way. So I think this area needs a lot of improvement. And I think the reforms within the planning commission, there are discussions happening in terms of how do we change our L1 strategy, which is a common problem. I think what you hinted basically was the L1 strategy, that whatever is done, we are bidding. So it is being changed also at planning commission level, being discussed today. Some of the areas of PPP sector has already improvised in terms of their bidding part. Like HAM projects are that way much suited to bidding for mid-level players also these days. So things are changing, but yes, the change, even railways, one of the tough nut to crack in terms of contracts are concerned. But today, if you see, the railways have become that way more adaptable to changes. So yeah, we have to only probably we can be the change driver. We can push it to the extent possible. And one area in L1 terms is when the bid is declared by government as industry, we are not obliged to go and bid everything. We should choose whether we want to bid or no. Because here DPR, if it is not right, we tend to rely on DPR 100%. So that is one area where we need to have our cautious also coming in to check and start saying no to some of the areas.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think just one last question. I saw Kavita's hand raised.
Oh,
Kavita,
yes, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Sapre. Thank you for
Hi.
your time. Mr. Sapre, I had one question, actually two, but I'll miss my flight otherwise. How do you encourage women? Projects is essentially seen as a male-centric domain. So, any word of encouragement for women to join the force?
From my experience, I have seen people already, like in Calcutta Metro in almost 96, 97, Bahu Bajar, the in charge was an engineer who was a lady. And still today also she is in permanent position. In Bombay Pune Expressway, or one of our first concrete expressway, we had an engineer, only one. We used to call him the man amongst, because she was the one who was even going to
Usually.
night shifts. Yeah. So and today she is in US doing good. So if you ask me, yes, first is the courage from the women to come in. That is first requirement. My team is, I would say, very balanced in that sense, both experts as well as within the team. We have prominent women participation. Mindset is again the area which needs to be, changed on both sides. One is the management. Like today, government is saying that your management should have 30% compulsory female directors and all. I think this, if you have to say this as a policy, then it itself shows that our mindset is not there. It should become like automatic that like we have 10 people in our board, maybe 3 or 4 will be women. So boards are encouraging. As corporate governance, if I see, it is encouraging to have women. Now, women within women is a differentiator. Women from my own family or known people, or women of substance. What is missing today is recognition of women of substance in infrastructure at the project level. Though government side is much better. The director could be a woman who is an IAS officer, yeah, or secretary could be a woman who is driving the projects, or the state for that matter. In Kerala, we have seen one lady when I was actively working from central office to rural projects. The lady was the head of infrastructure department, and she says, "I am from commercial background. This is trusted on me, but then I want to learn from you people." And within 3 months, she was teaching us what is wrong. So it also depends on how much interest one takes in. So I would always say that yes, it should be equal. Why 30%, 20%, even more sometimes. So I think it is more on women should definitely come forward, number one. Second is there should not be any say on male side also that no, side pe kaise jaogi, kya hoga. It should depend on the environment, how you give them. So I think if environment is provided, I think women will also come forward. Like army, if they can go, then projects are still much better.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I mean, this has been a very interesting lecture, and I would just like to say one thing that this was when you talk about trends and mindsets, it is much more interesting than talking about trends in infrastructure or real estate. My two quick takeaways, I would really love that if you absorb 30% of what ISB has taught you and you use that 30%, then that is your 100%. That is one. And the second real good mindset that you said is
that's my way, not necessarily highway.
Yeah, fine. I get it. and second thing, what I would say is what you really brought out is that our mindset to not accept a no. And as a result, all the risk analysis and whatever we do, which tends to say push us towards a no, is actually pushing us towards the higher risk because we don't accept that no. So thank you. I think you have brought out some very interesting points. And I now hand you over to, for Professor Chandan, if he has some few comments on this.
Yeah, I would like to say that, Alok, it was a wonderful talk, right? And I really enjoyed listening to you. And I'm sure, our participants got immensely benefited through your talk. And we'll stay connected and we'll discuss on how can we collaborate. And I will also encourage our students that, in fact, our students, we have formed different teams and they all are doing very interesting projects. So I would encourage our students that if you all, any of you would like to reach out to Alok, please feel free. And I've seen all the alums of ISB. One common thing is they have been very, very supportive to their juniors. So do feel free to get connected with Alok. Alok, thank you so much. We'll stay connected and we'll explore the possibility of collaboration. How do you do something big together? And maybe over to Professor Pratap to say a few concluding.
I will only say one thing, Chandan, here, that collaboration for me will be a pleasure. But then I am more of a practical input than very systematic theoretical input. So I will try and be there in terms of something is needed. I will definitely be able to help in terms of making it more practical.
Right. Sure. Yes, Professor Pratap, over to you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Alok, Sapre, and I enjoyed your talk very much. I learned a lot. I am working as academic director along with Chandan and Colonel Rajiv Bhargava. Our students, I am sure they have enjoyed your talk very much. And thank you for this opportunity of listening to you. We would like to move forward with some collaborations in the future. Thank you.
Sure, Pratap. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank every one of you. Rajiv, thanks for the opportunity. Thanks, Chandan. Sorry, I take always first name, so don't mind. Pratap, thanks a lot. And to all my colleagues who are so-called students, all the best to you for your journey ahead. And as I said, take the learning, enjoy the classes. Sorry, you are not able to probably attend the classes physically, but then as far as possible, stay coordinated, stay in touch with each other. It will help you a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So I think this was the last class for the residency.
One more class is
the next one. I think that is postponed, if I'm not wrong. Assis, due to the ill health of the faculty. Assis, you are wrong.
Yes, it has been postponed. It has been scheduled on August 22nd.
So thank you, everybody. All the best to all of you. Right. I hope for another session.
Yeah. Okay. All the best to you, and we will remain connected. And so, Pratap sir, any parting comments before we end this? Literally, we are ending the residency.
Yeah, I'm very happy, Rajiv, to see some of our students at least in the hotel and physically interacting with them. And I gave some guidance during these physical meetings in the hotel. And also I gave some articles and extra articles to especially rainwater harvesting and all this stuff. So any future help, please reach out to us, and then I along with Chandan and Rajiv, we will be very glad to assist you in your ALPs. Thank you very much, and have a safe journey back home. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Bye. Take care.
Yeah, all the best to all of you.
Thank you, sir.